My name is Archer Keene. I'm 31, the overlooked youngest son of a family that built its reputation on ambition and dismissed me as the one who never quite measured up. While my brothers chase political appointments and my parents dine with people who pretend ethics is a personality trait, I spend my days buried in the back-end systems of a tech firm in Austin, quiet, invisible, useful only when someone else needs saving. I've always felt like the black sheep, in my family and at work, the guy who fixes disasters but never gets his name on the report. Still, even for someone used to being underestimated, nothing prepared me for the moment a $12 coffee card became the spark that blew open a scandal big enough to burn careers, reputations, and maybe my life with it. And trust me, what happened next wasn't just humiliating. It was lethal. The company meeting began in silence. One of those mandated town halls where even the janitor gets a calendar invite. Room 4C smelled like burnt toner and desperation. 65 of us, standing room only, all blinking toward the front stage like cattle before a storm. A PowerPoint slide flickered to life. Welcome, Rowan Valence, incoming group CEO. She was here. Live. The murmurs stopped. The screen transitioned to her face, sharp eyes, perfect posture, that calm, clean menace that made your pulse skip even through a monitor. Then, Jacob Marston cleared his throat. My boss. Mid-40s, smug face that always looked like it just told a joke nobody else got. He wore his company man mask today, gray suit, lavender tie, oily charm. We're honored to have Rowan with us, Jacob said, gesturing to the camera. And we'd like to take this moment to show appreciation for one of our own. 10 years of service, loyalty, and quiet excellence. My heart paused. Jacob held up something small, flat, and green. Archer Keene, he smiled. You've earned it. He walked up, handed me a Starbucks card. $12. Not a plaque. Not a bonus. Not a damn handshake. Just $12. In front of Rowan. In front of everyone. It wasn't the insult that killed me. It was the performance. People clapped awkwardly. Someone muttered, wow. Big spender. I stared at the card like it might bleed. Jacob leaned in and whispered, still smiling. Used it yet? I didn't blink. I gave it to Rowan, I said. Told her it perfectly represents your department's budget priorities. The room went dead. Rowan turned slowly from the screen. Her expression unreadable. Jacob's smirk dissolved. Is that true? She asked, voice flat. No one moved. Later that afternoon, I sat at my desk, screen bright with meaningless numbers. Fingers hovered over the keyboard. A file folder buried 4 directories deep, labeled insurance. Inside were timestamped exports, internal reports, logs from an old admin account I never should have had access to. I'd been collecting receipts since Jacob's third clerical error cut my pay. Most people never notice the rot until it smells. But I see it in code. I pulled out the card. $12. It still had that scratchy gloss finish. I turned it over. Thanks for everything, Jay. My phone buzzed. Block number. Text only. You're not the only one who's noticed. March 18th transfers. Look closer. I stared at the message, cold sweat beginning to rise. A second ping. From HR. Mandatory presence, Thursday 9 a.m., Conference 2A. I slipped the card into my drawer and clicked open the March 18th folder. My pulse doubled. Someone had rerouted vendor payments. Dozens. Same bank. Same shell company. $82,000 missing. Another text. You didn't use the card. But you just used something far more dangerous. The room shrank around me. March 18th. Transfers. Starkland Consulting. I pulled the files. Dozens of them. Wire transfers sliced into increments just below reporting thresholds. Same account numbers, same routing paths. Always on a Friday. Always between 3:02 and 3:07 p.m. They were hiding in plain sight. I leaned back, heart punching against my ribs. People don't launder $80,000 by accident. Then. Printer jam. No sound. Just the faint smell of heated toner and a screen that blinked red, admin locked, credential mismatch. My stomach dropped. The lights above flickered once. Then again. Footsteps behind me. Slow. Confident. You shouldn't be in here. Reed Stenholm. IT compliance manager. Thick glasses, a buzz cut that looked like it was maintained with wire cutters. I swallowed. I wasn't doing anything illegal. That's not really the issue. He stepped forward, eyes scanning the monitor. No panic. No anger. Just calculation. Then he reached into his coat pocket, handed me something. A USB drive. Black. Unlabeled. You'll want this. But if they find it on you, I never existed. I didn't ask questions. Because in this company, silence keeps you alive longer than answers. Cut. Security footage played on loop outside HR. I sat in a chair that felt 2 sizes too small, fingers numb. The admin access you used was revoked 6 months ago, the investigator said. His tone was polite. Too polite. I know. That's why I used the timestamp override. Wrong move. His pen froze mid-note. People like him don't expect systems guys to understand systems. Not really. I was dismissed from duty pending investigation. No formal charges. No warning. Just escorted out with my badge clipped upside down and every eye watching like I'd just been caught downloading child porn. I didn't go home. I went to the place I always went when I didn't want to be found, level -1 parking garage, corner slot D47. No cameras. No signal. I popped the USB into an old burner laptop. 5 folders. One labeled audio. The other, backup_3. I clicked the first. A voice crackled through. Jacob. And another man I didn't recognize. You're burning through the shell accounts too fast. You promised slow volume, low risk. Jacob laughed. We've got 3 weeks before the transition hits legal. Rowan wants the books clean. This is how we clean. Pause. She's backing this? Silence. Don't ask questions you don't want on tape. I yanked the drive out. My ears were ringing. I should have felt vindicated. Proof. Motive. Timeline. Instead, I felt cold. This wasn't a rogue manager. This was an execution plan. And Rowan, our new corporate messiah, was the one pulling strings. I drove aimlessly until dusk. Every red light felt like it could be a setup. Every parked car was suddenly watching. The line between paranoia and survival is razor thin. You never know which side you're on until it's too late. I crashed at a hotel under a fake name. Paid in cash. In the mirror, I looked older. Eyes bruised. My reflection didn't blink when I did. A knock at the door. My chest locked. 3 slow knocks. Pause. Then one fast. Code knock. Only one person used that. Chloe Bishop. My ex-former auditor. The last person who trusted me before the promotion wars tore us apart. I opened the door. She stepped in, trench coat soaked, eyes sharp. You lit a fuse. I didn't mean to. Yes, you did. And now it's burning both ends. She dropped a manila envelope on the bed. What's this? Rowan scheduled travel for next week. She's flying to Zurich. Want to guess what bank is headquartered there? My jaw clenched. You always said you'd rather get fired for the truth than promoted for a lie, she added. I just didn't think you'd drag the whole damn building down with you. I didn't start this. No, she said. But now you're in it. I stared at the envelope. At her. At the window behind her, half cracked open. A whisper of cold air slid through. I stood slowly. Crossed to the window. Closed it. Then noticed the red blinking light on the smoke detector. It wasn't there this morning. I stepped back. Chloe. Get your stuff. Now. Why? We're not alone. We bolted. Chloe grabbed her coat, yanked her flash drive from the burner laptop, and shoved it into her boot. I grabbed the envelope, Zurich flight records, handwritten routing numbers, and a memo with a code name, Latte, and we were out the door in under 20 seconds. Stairwell. 5th floor. The kind with no windows, just concrete echo and metal railings. We didn't speak. Breath was too valuable. Second landing, footsteps above. A man descending. Too slow for panic. Too fast for casual. I held up a hand. Chloe stopped dead. Then the man turned. Not hotel staff. Too clean. No name tag. No keys. His hand brushed inside his blazer. I pushed Chloe against the wall, hand over her mouth. We froze. He passed. No eye contact. But he slowed. Half-second hesitation. Then walked on. A quiet whisper from her, they sent someone. No, I said, heart pounding. They sent more than one. Cut. We took the service elevator. Exited through the kitchen. Chloe's contact, a disgraced ex-caterer named Jonas, held the back door for us. Didn't ask questions. Just nodded. Leave the city, he said as he slid us a key. Unit 38. Abandoned condo by Mueller Park. Power's still live. But keep the lights off. Always off. The rain had started again. By the time we reached the lot, Chloe's hands were shaking. They know we're watching. They always knew, I said. We just made them start caring. I started the car. The condo looked like it hadn't been touched since 2012. Faded flyers on the fridge. Dust thick enough to write names in. One mattress. 2 forks. We sat. I thought you left this life, I said. I thought you stopped chasing ghosts, she replied. Silence. Chloe stood, pulled off her coat, and laid out the flight docs. Rowan's trip is booked under a shell identity. Flight 787, Zurich. Bank, Weltgold. I knew the name. That's not a private account bank. That's a clearinghouse. Exactly, she said. This isn't about hiding money. It's about laundering power. Her words sat heavy in the air. You remember what you told me when they denied your promotion? She asked suddenly. I blinked. Which time? The last time. You said, a system that rewards obedience over truth is built to collapse. I shook my head. I was trying to sound brave. You sounded right. Cut. At 3:07 a.m., the burner phone buzzed. One line. Meet me where it began. Come alone. I showed it to Chloe. She stared. It's a trap. Yeah. You're going? Have to. I left everything behind except a pen, the envelope, and a body recorder. Trust is currency. But betrayal? That's how you pay for truth. Downtown. The rooftop of the old Crosspoint building. Where I started 10 years ago as a temp. Where I fixed a broken server with bubblegum and Ethernet wire and got a pat on the back and a frozen burrito. Jacob stood there now. Alone. Hands in pockets. I expected you an hour ago. I expected you in prison. He laughed. The wind caught his voice and threw it sideways. Rowan's not the mastermind, he said. I stepped closer. Then who? Jacob's eyes flicked behind me. I turned. Reed. Gun drawn. Silencer attached. You should have just used the card, Archer, Reed said. Would have made things easier. No one ever built anything worth keeping by doing the easy thing. Then I moved. The envelope flew. Gunfire, suppressed, cracked the silence. Jacob Dove. I tackled Reed. The gun skidded across the roof. He elbowed me hard in the ribs. I rolled. Kicked upward. His knee buckled. Then the roof alarm sounded. Red lights. Elevator opening. 2 security guards burst out. Reed froze. I held up the recorder. Everything's on tape. But it wasn't the threat that broke him. It was the red dot that landed on his forehead. He dropped the gun. Security tackled him. Jacob stood, breathing hard. You're not gonna make it out of this clean. Clean was never the goal, I said. He stared. Then smiled. There's always someone bigger. I know, I whispered. And they just got a copy of this. I pressed send. The audio file launched to a secure contact, Chloe's lawyer. A known whistleblower. Jacob went pale. I looked at the guards. Call the police. As they cuffed Reed, I turned to Jacob. You handed me a $12 card. I just handed you a $12 million disaster. They separated us. Police cars swallowed the rooftop. Red strobe splashed across Jacob's face as officers cuffed him and shoved him into the back seat. Reed was hauled off in another cruiser, head down, no fight left. But none of that mattered. Because the third car wasn't for them. It was for me. Protective detainment, the sergeant said. Orders from federal oversight. Federal. Not local. Not corporate. Federal. My pulse spiked. Since when does a whistleblower get detained? Since your evidence suggests a multi-state laundering network. And since the CEO you named, Rowan Mercer, just requested personal oversight. Rowan. She finally stepped into the game. Cut. They moved me to a temporary federal holding office, white walls, 1 camera, no windows. The kind of room where truth either saves you or buries you. 2 hours passed. No updates. No attorney. No water. Just silence thick enough to choke on. Then the door opened. Rowan Mercer walked in like she owned gravity. Tailored charcoal suit. Smooth hair. Eyes that assessed and dismissed in the same microsecond. She didn't sit. Archer, she said softly. You've made quite a mess. I exposed yours. A thin smile. That's what inexperienced whistleblowers always believe. That they've discovered the whole picture. She circled the table. Slow. Calculated. Like a shark tasting the current. First rule of power, she murmured, is simple. Never assume you're the only one holding a knife. She slid a folder in front of me. Inside. Copies of bank statements. But not theirs. Mine. My childhood savings. My IRS transcripts. An old loan from college. Even my apartment lease. All printed with timestamps from the last 2 hours. How did you? She tapped the camera. You triggered a federal review, Archer. I get access to everything you've ever signed. Every password you ever changed. Every dotted line you ever crossed. My throat dried. This wasn't intimidation. This was ownership. Rowan leaned in. Here's a truth most people never learn until too late. corruption doesn't hide in shadows. It hides in the open, protected by paperwork and ambition. Then why are you here? I asked. Because you saw too much, too fast. And because Reed was supposed to handle it quietly. She straightened, almost disappointed. He failed. What about Jacob? Oh, Jacob was never a threat. Just a vessel. A man who believed loyalty could be bought. He wasn't wrong. And me? I asked. Rowan stepped closer. You were never supposed to matter. There it was. The story of my life summed up in 6 words. She placed a sleek business card on the table. Black. Embossed. Sign a confidentiality agreement. Accept departmental transfer. Say you misunderstood the data. And this ends clean. And if I don't? Her eyes softened. Almost pitying. You'll learn a second truth: institutions don't erase people. They consume them. Cut. Before I could respond, the door burst open. Federal investigator Nolan Graves stormed in, badge raised. Ma'am, you can't conduct private interviews with an active witness. Rowan didn't flinch. I can when corporate compliance cooperates with federal oversight. Graves glared. Not anymore. He shoved a tablet toward her. Your Zurich itinerary came across Interpol's monitoring queue. That flight path links directly to 4 flagged accounts. She froze. For the first time, something in her posture cracked. Leave, Graves ordered. Rowan didn't argue. She left with one last look at me. One that said, this isn't over. The door shut. Graves sat across from me, dropped the act, and whispered. Whatever you think you know, it's worse. There's another player in this. Another? My voice tightened. Bigger than Rowan? Yes, he said quietly. Someone feeding her operations. Someone inside your department. The room chilled. My department. Only 5 people had unrestricted system clearance. Me. Jacob. Reed. The CFO. And Chloe. My lungs stuttered. Graves continued, oblivious. We intercepted a message from the Zurich bank. Someone attempted remote access 10 minutes ago using your old encryption key. My key? I whispered. But I hadn't logged into anything. I hadn't touched the system. Which meant someone set me up. Or someone else had been using my credentials for months. A realization hit me like a blow. Only one person besides me ever had a copy of my system passphrase. Years ago. Back when we were together. When trust was currency and we traded it too freely. Chloe. Graves noticed a shift in my expression. Archer, he said carefully, who else knew your credentials? I tried to speak. But nothing came out. Because the truth wasn't a whisper anymore. It was a scream. I gave the wrong person access to the entire system. And suddenly, everything, every transfer, every override, every hidden file, had a new shape. Not Rowan. Not Jacob. Not Reed. Someone smarter. Someone quieter. Someone who had been beside me the whole time. Someone who walked into my hotel room with wet hair and a coat full of evidence. Graves leaned forward. Archer. Who is it? I exhaled. It's the one person I shouldn't have trusted. The door shut before I could breathe. Federal briefing room. White light. Metal table. 2 chairs. Nolan Graves sat across from me. No badge. No fluff. Just facts. We traced your credentials, he said. Not through Jacob. Not through Reed. Through someone with direct admin access after your departure from the company server archived it. My pulse thudded. That's impossible. Not if someone used your old passphrase. I didn't flinch. But inside, everything screamed. My old encryption key, the one I shared with someone I trusted. The silence in that room was heavy. Real heavy. I need names, Nolan said. I didn't answer. I already knew. Cut. Camera transition. Flash cut. We were already walking down the hallway, Nolan ahead, me behind, fluorescent lights slicing shadows into the wall. The bank intercepted a back-channel request from Welt Gold Clearing House, he said, not looking back. I didn't understand at first. Then it hit me. Rowan's route isn't random. It's a failsafe. Nolan nodded. Only someone inside could trigger that after Norman's arrest. Norman. That used to be my anchor name for Reed. But now it was bigger. Much, much bigger. We're dealing with a coordinated extraction, Nolan continued. Not just fraud or laundering. Structured financial deception across international clearing. I felt cold. This wasn't a corporate misstep. This was orchestration. I remembered a phrase from something I read once, a line that stuck. The true measure of power isn't influence. It's invisibility. Someone invisible was playing us. Someone close. Cut. We entered the Federal Server Bay. Racks of humming machines. Blue LEDs blinking like heartbeats. Nolan handed me a tablet. Look. Files decrypted. Timestamps. Metadata. Email threads. One name repeated. Not once. Not twice. But across 3 continents. And years. Chloe Bishop. My pulse dropped. Not just as a name, but as her. Flashback, almost like a glitch in the lighting. Her voice. You were always too honest for your own good. She'd said it after we discovered a minor compliance error years ago. But that was nothing compared to this. This. A direct link between her login and multiple shell accounts. Transfers. Overrides. I looked down. No disbelief. Just the stark truth. Nolan noticed the shift. Archer? I need to call her, I said slowly. No, he said, voice firm. Not yet. I need answers. His eyes hardened. You're still a suspect until proven otherwise. I exhaled. I already know that. Cut. Outside, Federal Garage. Rain. Cold. Icicles of water collecting at the edges of my coat. I dialed her number. 1 ring. 2. Then voicemail. Archer, if this is about. Beep. Not enough time. Something was off. I hung up. Deep in my chest, a warning flared. Someone was waiting. Watching. Ready. I turned. A black SUV idling at the curb. Tinted windows. No headlights. Just banking engine rumble. I felt it before I saw it. Movement. A shadow crossing from one lamppost to another. Then another. I didn't wait. I moved. Twice as fast. Nolan called after me. Archer. Freeze. Too late. I was already halfway to my car when a gunshot cracked. Like thunder in a library. I dropped. Hands to ears. Then silence. Slow. I lifted my head. The bullet had hit the concrete behind me. One shot. One message. They were telling me. I was running out of time. I reached my car. Hand trembling. I punched the door lock. Clicked. I slid in. Engine roared. I didn't wait. I drove. Through rain. Through red lights. Through every instinct screaming, stop, don't do this. I needed to reach the debtor's room. The place where all files were stored. The only evidence that could either free me or bury me. My phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. You're closer than you think. I hit reply. One word. Who? Instant reply. Look up. I lifted my eyes just as headlights skidded toward me. Black SUV. Full speed. No brakes. No hesitation. It slammed into me. Glass exploded. I screamed. Then everything went black. You're going to be okay, I heard someone whisper. But I wasn't sure if they meant the voice or the man standing over me holding his own badge. FBI. Not federal oversight. Not corporate control. FBI. He didn't speak. Just yanked me to my feet. Outside, the rain turned into sheets. Drowning city lights. And then he opened his coat. Inside his badge. And beneath it, a photo of Chloe Bishop. He didn't say a word. Because at that moment, the truth wasn't just complicated. It was explosive. And the world was about to see it. I blinked once. And heard the thought before it came out. To expose one lie, you have to unravel 1,000 truths. Then he spoke. You ready to testify? I didn't hesitate. Yes. Yes, I am. They led me into the courthouse lobby like a suspect. But I wasn't just one. I was the witness. The accused. The truth. Cameras swarmed. Flashes popped like distant gunfire. Reporters yelled questions I didn't hear. Only one phrase echoed in my head. The truth is a lion, let it loose, it will defend itself. I didn't know who said that first. Didn't matter. The words fit like a loaded chamber. Inside, the courtroom was packed. Rows of seats. Steel-hard eyes. Phones ready. At the front, 2 tables. On the left, prosecutors with stacks of exhibits and red string maps. On the right, defense, Rowan's attorney team. Calm. Polished. Predatory. Between them, the judge, stern, tired eyes, robe hanging like a shadow. And in the gallery, families. Stakeholders. Every name I'd ever worked with. This wasn't just a trial. It was a public reckoning. Cut. First witness. Me. I stood. Hands raised. Do you swear to tell the truth? The clerk droned. Yes. Question after question. Short. Precise. Controlled. Then came the moment. The prosecutor slid a flash drive across the table. Exhibit 47, audio recording supplied by the defendant. The courtroom dimmed on the screen. Rowan's voice. Not staged. Not ambiguous. Clear. Structured financial remediation before integration. That was her phrase. Not laundering. Not concealment. But remediation. A half-truth dressed as corporate lexicon. Gasps rippled through the room. Rowan did not flinch. Her team looked worried. But not desperate. Not yet. Then the defense rose. Your Honor. They played another clip. Not Rowan. Not Jacob. Not Reed. But another voice. Smooth. Calculated. Someone I didn't expect. Chloe. Her voice said. We keep the transfers clean. We make them seamless. No one will trace it back. Least of all Archer. The room shook. Chloe. Not just another player. The ringmaster. A slow drip of reaction. Flashbulb detonation. Her betrayal wasn't just personal. It was strategic. She turned the phrase back on itself. In war, the first casualty is trust. Except she wasn't in a war. She was the architect. The defense tried to deny it. Called it fabricated. Out of context, they said. But context matters. Especially when law binds every word to evidence. Cut. Then came the twist. Mid-trial recess. Judge called everyone back in. Before proceedings resumed, a clerk approached the bench with a sealed envelope. He handed it to the judge. No one else touched it. Silence. Read into the record, the judge said. His voice reverberated. The clerk unfolded the paper. It was a confession. A third party. A financial auditor from World Gold Clearing House. Signed. Admission of intentional manipulation. Of Rowan's direct orders. Of a network of shell accounts spanning Europe, Asia, and South America. Not just laundering, but manipulation of international markets. The courtroom exploded. Not in noise, but in recognition. This was bigger than corporate decay. This was systemic rot. Cut. I watched Rowan. Her face didn't show fear. Just disappointment. And a truth buried under years of calculated choices. When you're building an empire on lies, there's no foundation for truth to stand on. The prosecution pressed. Facts. Timelines. Bank trails. Eyewitness accounts. Slowly, like a clockwork unwind, the network collapsed. Then it was over. The judge leaned in. This court hereby finds the defendant. I couldn't hear the rest. My ears buzzed. Time slowed. I saw faces. Family. People I tried to impress. People I disappointed. I saw myself. Not as the black sheep. Not as the scapegoat. But as someone who refused to look away. Cut. Outside. Streets bright with noon sun. Reporters waited. Shouts. Microphones. Questions. But I didn't answer. Not yet. I walked away, head down, coat flapping. A photographer snapped a close-up. I didn't flinch. People talked about justice. But justice isn't served in verbal fireworks. It's served in the quiet aftermath. The part no one films. I stepped onto the sidewalk. A breeze cut across my face. Then another phrase popped into my head. Courage is not absence of fear, but persistence despite it. I paused. Fists clenched. Then let them fall. I pulled out my phone. One message. From an unknown number. Well done. Now the world sees. I didn't care who sent it. Because I already knew something deeper. Truth doesn't just expose corruption. It reveals people. And it demands accountability. Not just from others, but from yourself. I walked away. Past the cameras. Past the shouting. Past the spectacle. The sun was warm. Not enough to burn. Just enough to light the road ahead. And I took a step forward. Because this wasn't the end. It was a beginning.